Well, welcome everybody. Thank you ever so much for coming to see us. If anybody who's walking past is interested in an organic gardening question time, that's what we're about to start. It's a gorgeous show, isn't it? And lovely weather, absolutely great weather. Well look, today we're going to record this question time because Chris Collins, my colleague over here, and I present the Organic Gardening Podcast. And every month we do a question and answer session, and we thought, well, what are better than this to do a recording here and get some questions and answers recorded. So I hope everybody's okay with that, because we're going to want some great questions from you if you've got any to share with us. But let me introduce my esteemed panel here. So on my left I've got August Beth, who is the head tutor at the Raymond Blanc Gardening School. She's a passionate grower of heritage vegetables, and she's just written a book called Around the World in 80 Veg, which is out next year. I've got Dr. Anton Rosenfeld, my colleague at Garden Organic. He's a research manager, and he regularly appears on the Organic Gardening Podcast, particularly to answer questions, which is why we've got him here. He's got fantastic knowledge in all aspects of organic growing, and he also has a PhD in soil science. So he's Dr. Anton Rosenfeld. So we're really delighted that you're here. And then Chris Collins, he's our Garden Organics head of horticulture. He used to be the Blue Peter gardener. How about that? Isn't that amazing? And he was also head gardener at Westminster Abbey. He's done all sorts in his career. He's been all around the world, and he's a great friend to all of us at Garden Organic. So great to have you here too, Chris. So first of all, I'm going to go over to questions from the audience. Now, we did actually prepare a few in advance, so I have got a few to share with you, just to get us started, just to get you kind of warmed up. And then we've got a microphone, a roving microphone, so it would be great if anybody's got a question, pop their hand in the air and we'll bring a microphone to you. If you could actually ask the question into the microphone, that does really help, because then everybody else can hear it. So the first one we've got is from somebody who has written in about compost. Okay, now we are obsessed with compost at Garden Organic, and this is a great question. My compost is really slimy and smelly. What have I done wrong? Okay, so Vanessa asked us that question. I'm going to go to Chris first.
Okay, yes, too much green, not enough brown, I think is probably the most general answer. So when you're composting, you want an equal balance of what you call carbons and nitrates. So live materials, dead materials. So for instance, it could be annual weeds, but hopefully not any seed. You've pulled all your grass clippings alongside cardboard or leaves, or so you're using red, brown materials and dead material and live materials. Mix them together, and there's kind of two ways you can go from there. The reason it's all slimy is it's too much green material. So you've got the wrong microorganisms that are activating, and they just produce a different result. You add your browns to it, you get the right microorganisms going, and you get a much better result. You can either do hot composting or cold composting. So if you're hot composting, you can turn it every few weeks, make sure it's kept damp. You can do this on any scale. When I worked at Kew, the compost heap was 20 metres long and 10 metres wide. We used to turn it with a JCB, get bubbles on it. And I've also done it in a little 20-litre caddy on my balcony, but the same method. Greens and browns, roughly 50-50, will make sure you avoid the sliminess that Vanessa's talking about.
Have we got any composters here this afternoon? Excellent. A few hands have gone up. That's good to know. Yeah.
You can never have enough composters, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. They're very good people, generally, aren't they? Do you compost, August?
Yeah, I do. Not so much at home, but obviously at the Manuel we compost. And we think in the same method that you were saying, we do have the tractors coming in and turning it. But then for the Raymond Blanc Gardening School, we do have a much smaller space. So we have 3 little mini ones. So I always like to try and make sure that we have an active one that's kind of all mulching down, and then a space. So what I really love as well, I think in a home garden setting, we tend to not keep stockpiles. So, for example, if you've just mowed your lawn and you've got all your lawn clippings, you just tend to wallop that straight on top of the compost. What I generally do is I would have a pile of wood chip or your brown materials. So as I weed, I also cut my prunings, so I've always got it's not like a big job in the end. you know, so as you go, I chop everything. So I'll have a little bit of my brown and I'll have my green, and then I can layer it as well. Because I think that's the bit that really gets most home gardeners, is you just go in massive chunks, but actually doing it, and if you've got these piles ready and you do have your anaerobic pile that's gone all smelly, then you've always got this readily available material that you can kind of adjust it as and when you need it.
Oh, that's a great tip. Any questions about compost? We've got one here, so the microphone is coming to you.
So I compost, as you've just said, in the layers. Lasagna layer, is it called? But I don't turn it.
That's not a problem, because all you're doing is cold composting, so nature will do it for you eventually. The main difference is it'll be much slower. So nature just does it slow. By hot composting, by turning it, we're just speeding up the process. The microorganisms tend to speed up because you're letting oxygen and moisture into the pile. So it doesn't really make a difference. It just, you have to be more patient. And it's true actually to say cold compost, I think Anton would agree with this, tends to be better compost, doesn't it, if nature does it, you see?
So I would say the main difference between hot composting and cold composting is, if you've got stuff which is cold composting, it will take quite a bit longer, but you have to be a little bit more careful about what you put into it, because things like weed seeds will still survive it. So you just have to be a bit more careful, like your perennial weeds and stuff. Just keep them out of your compost. When you're weeding, just have a separate pile of all your perennial weed roots that you drown in a bucket, or put them out for your council to take away. But if it's hot compost, virtually anything can go into it because it will be killed off by the process. But cold compost, you just got to be a little bit more careful.
The heat factor is incredible. I worked in Africa for a while, and we would compost there, and it would take 4 weeks. Compost, yeah, because we would turn it. So it shows you the importance of heat, because it just speeds up everything incredibly. And by turning it, you're creating more heat, aren't you?
Yeah.
And do you water it?
I do, yes. I on the cube pile, we just put bubblers on it, so you get spread. So yeah, we do. So you don't want it, if it dries out completely, then the browns don't tend to break down. So you need a bit of moisture in there. So a little bit of moisture is good. Hopefully that happens naturally, but maybe not when it's doing this. Yeah.
Okay, well, actually, we mentioned weeds there, and we've got a good question here, which I think leads on really nicely. Christopher wrote in and said, I've got a big problem with persistent weeds on my allotment, particularly bindweed. What can I do that doesn't involve spraying? So can I just get a bit of a hands up? How are people dealing with, how many people have an issue with bindweed?
Everybody.
It is just, everybody has this issue. Yeah, absolutely. August, what would you do about bindweed?
I mean, the only way that I've ever really dealt with it, and especially because I'm organic, I do get in and try and get as much of it out as I possibly can. And I think the most important thing is to not let it take hold. So as soon as you see it coming, get rid of it. As soon as you turn your eyes and it's started going crazy, you know, you're letting it win. Yeah. So I think with all weeds in general, actually, it's like keeping on top of it, and I mean hoeing regularly for me, because I only really grow in vegetable patches, so you know I hoe before I actually even see any sign of the weeds coming, so I've already got rid of them before they start getting well established. So I think it's time, but you know that isn't reality all the time. I would say that it's, you know, you are going to find that little bit of bindweed coming up here, there and everywhere, but that kind of for me is the very hands-on.
That's the way you deal with it. Anton?
Yeah, I mean, if you happen to have let it get out of control, I find the best thing to do is to smother it. So we put a big layer of cardboard over it, because if you think any perennial weed, it's basically a structure underneath that's being fed by the structure above ground. So if you can chop that structure off and then smother it, you're basically gradually starving that substructure under the ground. We at Garden Organic, we've smothered bindweed for about 6 months with some cardboard. It will come back, but then like August says, you can then just be really vigilant every little bit, just pull it out before it starts to take hold. And you'll find after a couple of years, it is no longer a problem. You won't eliminate it completely, because organic gardening isn't about eliminating stuff. It's just basically trying to keep a lid on things and live with things. And I think, you know, you will find that it works.
Anyone want to share an experience about bindweed or perennial weeds, or whether they've got an issue? Yes, okay, we've got a question here.
Yeah, we have mare's. I was going to say lion's mane, mare's tail. We've tried. The advice was kind of to spray, but because we want to be organic, we're not doing that. And we've tried like raising the beds and putting lots of cardboard down, and it's still popping up through that. So I just thought, any advice on that?
So Chris is a complete expert on that.
When I took over my allotment, it has a really big, and it's an amazing plant. I mean, it gives me nightmares, but I really begrudgingly respect it because it's just been around for millions of years, and it can stay dormant in the soil for 20, 30 years, and it'll still come back. And but it makes growing veg quite hard when it takes over. And it's a clever plant because when it first comes out, you get these big bushy sort of shoots, and you hoe it off, and it comes back all flat, and I'll do that again. So it's almost like got an intelligence in a way. So I quite respect it, but I don't want it in my broad runner beans. I don't want it. So really, I use quite an extreme method. It's probably, of course, I use Mypex. So I use Mypex as a membrane, which is a sort of breathable membrane. I put that over the area and then I pin it down with tent pegs, and then I slit plant through it, basically. So I'll slit with a Stanley, slit it like that, plant my tomato through, plant my aubergine. It's very good for Mediterranean plants because the black heats up, so I tend to get good crops on it. But it's really the only method. You're right, I could weed it out for 1,000 years and it would still crack on. So the one area I've got that's really infested, I use Mypex on it. The rest of it is like the same method, use a vineweed. Most pernicious weeds don't like disturbance. You mentioned bindweed. You'll see that on railway banks, on the fences and that, because it likes the freedom to get on with it. So if you're attacking it all the time, you gradually weaken it. So I tend to just hoe between the lines in the areas where it's lighter. And then, like, I remember going to Audley End years ago, and the guy who ran that place, he would hoe lightly every day and just leave the weed to rot off on the top of the soil and carry on like that. So first of all, you've got to get on top of it. The Mypex might help, and then just keep hoeing it off.
One benefit though, it is quite good to use as a plant food because the roots are so deep, it brings up the minerals into the top. I wouldn't put it on the compost like you said, again, none of that, but if you put it into, this is because I know on Gardener's World they do it in a bucket and it's all putrid and revolting and it smells gross. So my method is I get a 4-litre milk carton, stuff it with the mare's tail, depress it slightly because it does start to ferment, so the plastic does start to expand. So depress it slightly, fill it up with water and leave it for 4 weeks, and then you can use that as a plant food. Every cloud.
Every cloud. I was told also it was very good for your kidneys and your liver if you drank it as a human, but I tried that and I've never tasted anything as bad as that.
I think we'll keep off the medical recommendations. Yes, let's just stick to vegetables, stick to what we know.
No horsetail tea, right? That's the advice.
So before we move off weeds, has anybody got any other weed queries? Yes, somebody at the back.
Does mare's tail produce spores?
Does mare's tail produce spores
At certain
times of year?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, produces seeds.
Yeah, it produces seeds. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's basically.
Well, I think the individual on my allotment, it's on 5 allotments. That it's one area where all these 5 allotments get it. They were abandoned for years. So the horsetail really got a grip, and I think it's one individual. I really do. I think it's just rhizome. It's underground stems that just spread through that area. I think it relies mainly on vegetative movement, but it produces seed as well.
Yeah.
You get the brown sort of specks on it, don't you? Or that. Yeah.
I've seen it go on the canals.
Oh, it's incredible. They find it 10 metres down. It's like you can tie your boots up with it. I tell you, you're really good.
Yeah.
It's amazing stuff, actually. It's a prehistoric plant, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been around since dinosaurs.
Yeah. Okay, I've got another question here. Moving on to ants. My greenhouse is overrun with ants. What can I do to control them? Anybody have a problem with ants? Okay, yep, me too. All right, so Anton, what would you do about this?
Yeah, I mean, ants obviously like a really dry condition, so it's really trying to get a condition which is not favourable for the ants. It depends on the conditions in the greenhouse. I guess if you've got a soil which is really sandy, they would like that, so adding more organic matter is going to help to retain the moisture in there. You could try and relocate the ants' nests. I don't think that's going to work very well.
Little bus, little train.
Yeah, but Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I just try and live with them and then make the conditions less favourable for them the next time.
So fundamentally, they don't like it wet, do they?
I mean, most treatments, there are nematode treatments against them. I find they don't really work that well. They, you know, it's quite a lot of money to spend on it, and it's only a little bit effective.
I've also had them in my greenhouse, and I have found that the double effect of watering then disturbs the ants. They're not that interested, but also it increases the humidity in the greenhouse, and they're not terribly interested in humidity either. So and that's brilliant for the crops in the greenhouse. So double-edged sword in the right kind of way, in a positive way. It's the way to do it, I think. Make sure the area is wet. So hopefully that will help. Any questions about other forms of insect or any pests that people feel that they are struggling with? Yes.
Yeah, we've got a mole that's wreaking havoc on the allotment. Any tips on how to encourage it to go away?
Do you think? I'm living in North London. It's not something I see often, moles, to be honest with you. But yeah, but I like them. I'll be honest with you. I like the top dress you can get out of it. So actually, you can use the piles, and I'll use that as a top dress for a lawn and stuff. Yeah. So I think people use alarms or noises.
Sonic deterrent. That can work.
They say because I used to have moles. We've got them at the manoir, and I also have had them at home. And a lot of people have said if you get hair, put it down, find the. I mean, I used to try and find the runs and try to do the humane traps and things like that. But what I found with that was that they could kind of smell the scent. As soon as they smell the human scent, you know, they tend to go and burrow somewhere else. So I'd find actually I'd end up with much more of a problem.
Right.
So I'd have them going all over the garden. So in the end, what I did do was I just left them because they tended to use the runs that they'd already made. As soon as I started trying to tackle the problem, it just got worse and worse and worse. I remember coming down the pathway once and I'd planted all my marigolds and they'd gone, because they also like newly dug soil, so they'd gone under all my marigolds. They were all popped out because they'd done the tunnel underneath it. Some people say if you, I mean I don't like it because it doesn't sound very nice, but if you tiddle down the hole,
word.
yes, it's good for many things, but apparently that works. It is but again, like you said, I did a test actually once with the molehill soil. I mean, I think that might have been the end of my marriage at that point. And I thought I brought the soil in because somebody said it's got loads of weed seeds in it, so I put it in the microwave. My husband was like, "Are you serious? Microwaving compost?" I was like, "Yeah, I've read it online. It's supposed to be really, really good." So I did a whole test with this microwaved molehill compost and the regular compost. There was no difference. At that point, I did know I'd gone completely mad. But that's my sign to say, don't think of everything online as the truth.
Yes, well, that's true. That's true. I'm not sure we've given you a particularly coherent answer.
I would try the sonic test, definitely. Have you tried them before? You go maybe that'll help. That's a quite interesting point. If you start to try to displace them, how they just spread, you get more damage. That's quite an interesting point too.
Back towards the field.
So out of the garden, back to the field. But you can leave a load of treats maybe if you try them.
Get cats,
a couple of Mars bars.
They're quite good for it as well.
Oh, I don't know.
Not if you've got a lazy cat.
Now, we normally get a lot of questions about slugs and snails. So I just wondered if there was anybody who had any questions about slugs or snails.
I think it's been a quiet year for slugs and snails because of all this hot weather.
So much hot weather.
Do you remember a couple of years ago when it rained and rained and rained and there was just a deluge off them, wasn't there?
Oh, that was
2024.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember that year? Do you remember
yes,
that?
very much so.
The great year of the slug and the snail?
Oh, I planted out all of my peas and they looked beautiful. I had a pea cathedral, I called it, and it was like this structure, hundreds of peas, and I came in 2 days later and there was not one left.
They'd all gone. They'd all gone. I know. Yes. I mean, what we tend to say generally is if you want to deal with them through nematodes, the problem with using nematodes is that it doesn't discriminate between the type of slug, and there are some beneficial slugs, and of course they're a really important part of the ecosystem. So what we always say at Garden Organic is try and make sure you've got some water in your garden. So if you've got a pond, or even just some kind of habitat which is damp, that will encourage newts, it will encourage toads, frogs, and they will take care of the problem for you. So that's generally what we advise. Anything else to add on that?
Wood piles as well, because that's a good place for the ground beetles to sort of hang out, and they are really useful predators. They will actually eat small slugs, because slugs go through a phase of actually being really tiny for quite a long time, and that's a time when they're really quite vulnerable, and the ground beetles will eat them at that time. They'll also eat the eggs as well. So yeah, your little shiny ground beetles are really are gardeners' friends.
Isn't it? Because when we were younger, I remember seeing beetles all the time, and you see less of them now, don't you?
Yeah,
you really do, and for various reasons. But yeah, definitely just you're saying a pile of woods or a little bug hotel or something like that would do the trick.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting actually, because I'd only really heard about the woodpile idea very recently, so I'm going to try it because I have definitely got a slug problem. How many people grow food? Lots of people grow food. That's very, very encouraging, because that's what we're obsessed with. So we talked about a lot of people in here grow some of their own food, and I just wanted to ask how many people use green manure and grow green manure in order to get the soil ready to grow your food. One or two. Do you mind if we just expound a bit on green manure, because it is something that we know quite a lot about, and actually we're all quite interested in, and we think it's a really good way forward. So I'm going to go to Chris first on this.
Yes, so yeah, I've got mine. I mean, I call it living compost. Really, you probably Anton is actually a big expert.
He's super expert. I'm saving him up.
Yeah, that's good. And but yeah, living compost is. I think I probably learned that expression from Anton. So basically, when you got the one thing you don't want to see as an organic gardener or any gardener really. I mean, I love soil, but I don't particularly want to see it. Okay, so if the soil, if you've got a crop that's spent and it's gone, you don't want gaps. Okay, you want to keep that soil covered. That helps the integrity of the soil, helps the drainage, because you've got. So what green manure does is it grows in that and fills that gap up temporarily. What it also does then is when you've had enough of it, you can just hoe it off and it rots down and feeds the soil. Some of them are really good at the moment. I'm growing a lot of Felicia, which is a beautiful blue sort of purpley flower. Bees absolutely go mad for it, so I'll put that into areas, just broadcast the seed into it where I've got gaps in when the crops start to get harvested. And then I'll probably get to sort of August, and when you really start to get gaps, because that's the area really harvested, I'd probably put in mustard, because that grows quite quickly and quite thickly, and again I'd broadcast that. And what I do is I let that protect the soil all over the winter if I'm not going to sow anything else into it, and I'll just hoe that off in the spring, and then that will rot down, and I've protected the soil and added some nutrient. That's probably about right, isn't it? Yeah.
Anton, go on, because you are a super expert. You've done lots of research into it. So just give us the overview, first of all, kind of what is a green manure?
So a green manure is a plant that you grow to improve the soil, really, and there's lots of different types. So you want to find the right type for the right purpose. I think the most important time to protect your soil is over the winter, really, because that's when a lot of the nutrients can get washed out, but also the soil can get quite damaged by, if you've got a lot of rainfall on the soil, it can sort of, basically it sort of glues the surface together, and then that bakes hard during drier times, so you end up with a soil with a hard crust on it. Whereas if you've got a green manure growing there, it will protect the soil. We found that a lot of people don't grow green manures because they struggle to sow it in time. They still
fitting it in.
Yeah, it's fitting it in. They basically, they might be growing their sort of runner beans or something, harvesting them till October, and then suddenly they've got a patch of bare soil, but actually it's too cold then for the green manure to germinate. So one trick that we found that works really well is to sow something underneath your plants, particularly tall growing things like runner beans, and you want to choose a green manure that's not too vigorous, so it doesn't compete against the plant. So we grow something like yellow trefoil or white clover, and it will grow underneath your runner beans. You sort of sow it in, you can sow it now actually, sort of June sort of time's a good time to sow it. And then when you remove your runner beans, you suddenly got your green manure already there and growing, and it's brilliant. You've got it there to protect your soil. We've also, there are some green manures which just look absolutely lovely.
Beautiful. Yeah, some of them are absolutely beautiful.
Crimson clover is one of my favourite. It just looks absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, yeah. And Chris mentioned Phacelia, which is quite tall, beautiful blue flowers, absolutely stunning. So it kind of makes your plot look really wonderful. Do you use green manures?
We have done at Le Manoir, which was a real struggle because Raymond wants the vegetable gardens to look absolutely beautiful at all times. So when we were doing things like the mustard and we're chopping it and leaving it on the top, he's like, "What is this? This is ugly." It's like, we understand that, but we have broken that now and we have really started implementing green manures. So we'll do things like mustard, ryegrass, we do use the Phacelia, and for us it's really key because sometimes you take your eye off the ball when it goes to seed. So I think that was our biggest thing, is to make sure that you chop it before it goes to seed, because if it does drop the seed, then you're never going to get rid of it. So that's the only thing. But it's also that, I think, is a beautiful one for a cut flower as well.
Yes.
Because it lasts beautifully in a vase. So I think all of these things have a beautiful purpose and a place. And I find it so interesting how all the different ones, it's like being a doctor, isn't it? A soil doctor. I mean, I haven't nailed that at all yet, but the reason that you grow different types that will really help your soil, and I just find that so interesting.
Originally, wasn't it, a lot of farmers, if they'd intensively done a field, they would sow clover, because clover fixes nitrogen, doesn't it? And you get the goodness back of the soil. I remember on the parks, when it was time to dig it up, they'd come along with a trailer and a tractor full of horse manure, tip it up, and it wouldn't slide off, so all the gardeners would be running and sticking a fork in it and sliding down. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the best way to get a spot on a bus, because no one's going to sit next to you later on.
Yeah, well, it's easier than manure, you mean? Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the point there, is that, you know, farmers have been doing it for years, but actually it sort of seems like a relatively new thing in gardening, or at least it's fallen out of favour, but we're very much trying to bring it back because it's a really great thing to do for your soil. Any other questions we got in the audience? Yes, over here.
There's one here.
Ways to improve my very sandy soil. I've dug in compost and all sorts, but watering is an absolute nightmare.
Okay, all right, because it doesn't retain the moisture. All right. I'm going to go to Anton first on this with our soil scientist here, Dr. Anton Rosenfeld, I think, should answer this first.
I mean, you're doing the right thing. You want to really just try and get your organic matter levels up, and that's... I mean, we have a really sandy soil right as well, and there are quite a lot of advantages. You have less problems with weeds, but then you'll always be trying to sort of struggling with the watering, and also...
Water in the morning or in the evening?
Is it best to water in the morning or the evening?
I would personally water in the evening so that it's got time to sort of soak in. Drip irrigation can help if you've got access to that, or make it... I mean, I do things like making little bunds around the plants as well, so that the water is targeted to the plants. But really, it's getting that organic matter level up. I mean, a sandy soil will just swallow up, sort of.
Water that just seeds that.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I think also getting the green manures will really help as well, because that will help to add more organic matter as well. Things like vetch will add a lot of sort of bulky organic matter to the soil, so it's just persevering with it really, but it is possible to do. But I think you do need to add a lot of compost. It might be even worth buying in some green waste compost just to sort of get those levels up a bit as well.
We had another question over there.
Hello. Coming back to slugs and snails, so you mentioned building a log pile to attract beneficial insects or newts, etc. with the pond, but how do you balance building a habitat that's beneficial for the population we want to attract, but not beneficial for slugs and snails? Because if you build something that's quite damp and in the shade, chances are slugs and snails will love it.
So will the frogs and toads. But anyway, yes, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a balance, but if you think about it, the majority of slugs do actually just like eating sort of rotting organic materials. If you think about the way we design our gardens, we often just get rid of all the sort of rotting leaf material, which is what most slugs like to eat. It gets rid of the habitat for predators, and then we just plant a load of lush green plants in there and wonder why the slugs eat it all. So it is really just having faith and building that sort of habitat, and you will... I mean, my garden, we don't really have a slug problem because we do have lots of log piles and green and sort of rotting leaves and stuff around. I do sometimes find if we have a really wet season, I have to go out at night and pick some of them off, but that's actually not that common that I have to do that.
Yeah,
I'll give it a try.
Well done. You talk a lot about build a system. You know, think about your garden as a system.
There's a really great book called The Good Slug Guide. It's fascinating reading, but I'd really recommend, because that will change your attitude to slugs. It sort of goes into that sort of mindset of how we sort of seem to get a garden that is so... I mean, basically the British garden, we almost traditionally build them up so that it's a slug magnet. Yeah. We need to just change that attitude, I think.
Back on to food growing, we had a question of someone who had a disaster with their broad beans. Apparently they looked completely healthy, but none of the flowers set. So the question was, what went wrong? Because obviously, none of the flowers set, they didn't get any beans. So what went wrong there, do we think? I
would say it's a moisture related, usually. If there's like periods of very dry or excess moisture, that could cause flower drop or bud drop, certainly. Yeah. Might do it with Tommies as well and stuff like that.
It's been a funny old year this year. Have you had any problems, August?
No, I've never really had problems with broad beans. I have noticed the newer flowers haven't been setting as much, and it was really wet at that stage, so probably exactly that.
I mean, we have had extreme weather. It's been really, really, on London anyway, I'm just speaking for London here, I'll point that out, but it's been so dry through the spring, and we had no water, there was no April showers at all, and then suddenly it was like April came along late in sort of middle of May, and I just think maybe that disrupts the pattern of the flowering. I wouldn't give up on them though, they'll probably flower again, you see, so I'd persevere with it, definitely.
Persevere, keep it going. Any food growing questions that we got?
Yeah, we've been trying to grow for the last few years, about 3 years. We did this snail gate time where everything got demolished, so we're kind of learning things the hard way. This year it's been grey aphids on the kale. They've kind of munched their way through the whole of the kale, so I kind of took it all out, left the beds for a while. Is there anything that I can do? I've tried neem oil, trying spraying that. I don't know, if that's advisable. But then as soon as it rains, I kind of feel it's been washed off.
Right.
So I just wanted some advice on what I can do for the pests.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a bit of a thug. I do go out and I rub them off, so I am very handy, and I also use the hose pipe, and really, even with my roses at the moment, I'm kind of not pressure washing them, but going at them with the hard, and that tends to wash them off. You can order ladybirds. So you could order some ladybirds in the post, which is so magical. When you get ladybirds in the post, I mean, there's nothing more fabulous. And then you can let them go and they'll be like, I love you, because they've got all their dinner there waiting for you. So that's also a really nice biological way of getting rid of them. But it is keeping on top of it. And I mean, for me, that is the main thing, is just going out and keeping on top of it. But I don't know what you would say.
So I would say that the main thing is just to try and get your environment up to encourage more predators. So the main predators against aphids there's quite a lot of them, to be honest. There's hoverflies, so plants that attract hoverflies are anything in the carrot family, just sort of shallow flowers, so things like coriander once it's bolted. Obviously there's ladybirds as well, so having a habitat for ladybirds, which is basically having lots of stuff over the winter so that they got a place to hibernate, so lots of tufty grass. Don't cut down your stuff too early as well, like just leave it looking messy until the early spring. The other thing, and this is quite a universal thing, is that the aphid population does really crash in about early July.
Yes.
So we've had, and it's a natural phenomenon that always happens, so we've had plants that have just looked absolutely terrible in the spring. Come to July, they just all go away, and so we've had plants that we just thought are at death's door, they're not going to come to anything, and then suddenly July they're all growing back again and look fine. So you can just hold your nerve. It might not look very pretty, but the plants do come back.
That's a bit encouraging, isn't it? Yeah, good. It's not over yet. That's what we say. Any other questions from the audience? Yes, over in the corner.
It's just a question about when you buy organic seeds from commercial Is there an accreditation system for those? Because I have bought those seeds over years.
Okay, so I think so. So certification of organic. So you know you're actually buying seed that is organic. I could answer this, but I probably shouldn't. So I'll let you answer it, Anton, if that's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically, anything that's grown organically has to go through a certification scheme, and it's quite rigorous. And so there's a number of certifying bodies. The most well-known one is the Soil Association. There's also Organic Farmers and Growers. There's also Biodynamic Association. They're perhaps most well-known. And so they have to basically come and they get inspected every year. They have to keep very good records as well. And yeah, it is policed quite sort of strictly.
The logo, you need to be looking for those logos on the pack.
Yeah.
Don't buy it if it hasn't got one of those logos. You need to be looking out for a certifier. Yeah, and then it will be organic. But yes, and if you find seed that's being sold as organic and it isn't certified, then please could you tell somebody about it, because that's not right and it's not fair. So yeah, thank you, good question. So I'm going to finish with one about sunflowers. Okay, so we had a question that's all a bit sad. I'm a beginner grower, right? And I was thrilled to have grown 20 sunflowers from seed in my border. And then last week they were all eaten. Who ate them is the question. Is it too late to resow, and how can I protect them next time? Well, who loves growing sunflowers? I mean, I absolutely love growing sunflowers. They're a wonderful plant, aren't they? Well, first of all, who ate them? I mean, can we answer that? Can we guess that?
It could be slugs, but
or rabbits.
I was going to say rabbits. I've had a load eaten this year by rabbits.
Have you?
Yeah, but I think one of the ways to do it, I grew a nice sunflower avenue last year, and what I did is I protected them with tree guards. So literally, I protected them like a tree, but also growing them quite big before I put them out into situ really helped. Yes. So I grew them in root trainers, but you could grow them in toilet rolls, but I got them up quite big before I put them out, and then I protected them with tree guards, and that seemed to do the trick. It's also the position of them, because I tried to grow them somewhere else this year on the same site, and they were gone in the first night. So it depends it depends maybe what they're
gone in a night. That's terrible. Yes.
But the tree guard really worked. The tree guards really work when it comes to rabbit. Yeah.
And is it too late, August, to resow your sunflowers?
I wouldn't say it's too late. You're not going to get a massive, great, big, giant sunflower, or even maybe go for a dwarf variety or something like that. But you can still sow them now. I've just sown some a few weeks ago with one of my clients. I do private gardens, and they're just coming through. Yes, they're not going to be, if you want an award-winning sunflower,
yes,
they're not going to be that. But I also think when it comes to sunflowers as well, I mean, I did this thing, like you were saying about an avenue, and I'd grown all these sunflowers, and I was so excited. I was like, I've got the vision. I'm going to have all these sunflowers all around my garden. And I'd gone for a single-headed sunflower. Obviously, they look at the sun. And I was like, oh, so when they flowered, they were all looking at the neighbour. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've got my avenue, but I'm getting no sunflowers. So they're all looking over the next door neighbour's garden. So from that, what I do now is I always grow multi-headed sunflowers, and you'll get so much more from a multi-headed sunflower. You can cut them, and I think that, you get more bang for your buck, and there's so many beautiful varieties. And also, I was on stage earlier with Mikey from the Raymond Blanc Cookery School, and I gave him a challenge to create a dish. So I gave him a sunflower head, and I was like, can you make me a dish from this? He looked at me like, oh, here we go. But it's something that we forget. The seeds are actually edible, and you can, if you harvest a sunflower head quite young, you can actually eat it a little bit like sweet corn. You can rub butter on the top of it, a little bit of garlic, roast it in the oven, and the seeds, not when they start forming a shell, but just before that, they're really, really tasty. And it's something in South America that they eat a lot, but we just totally forget about it. But also the other thing that they're fantastic for, I grow them in the vegetable garden for the seeds, and I use that as more of a companion plant, because I will leave them through the winter months. The birds will eat that, rather than my crops in the garden. So the seeds are like so fantastic for the birds. And then my other top tip with sunflowers, and I learned this a really hard way. Once they've dried, the stems have dried, I tried to do an Instagram reel, and my reels are quite active. And I got my stem, and I was like putting it on the compost, and I went like this, and I was like,
Agony.
Oh, I had a bruise like that. But something twigged in my head. I was like, do you know what? This stem is really, really strong. And now I use the sunflower stems as my canes for next year's runner beans. So I actually reuse my sunflower stems and tie them up, and they are so strong. So actually they're a really good multi-purpose thing to grow in your garden.
I'm definitely going to get some in this year, definitely. That's great. Ladies and gentlemen, would you put your hands together for the most marvellous panel, and thank you very much for all your questions. And I just wanted to say that Garden Organic is a charity. We've got a number of our team all sporting the same t-shirts that I'm wearing, and we're there all to give people advice on food growing, on composting, and all about seed saving as well. If you want to support us, it would be great. Pick up some information on your way out and find out more. We'd love to stay in touch. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.